You know how we go, baby. You know how we do it around here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day you're tuning in. Great to have you here on the Move Swiftly platform, folks. Let me just get everything shared out and we'll make the formal introductions and get things going in the direction they need to be going. Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Facebook, we are here on another Make Your Move Monday. Make Your Move Monday. Make Your Move Monday. Redefining the word consistency. That is what we do around here. First and foremost, let me introduce myself to anybody that may be new to this channel, new to this world, new to what I'm all about. My name, Aswan Cruikshank. I'm your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current five-time, very, very soon to be six-time published author and educator. I created this whole brand, this whole framework, this whole business, this whole concept, this whole idea that's all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on a football field and applying them, aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have a staff and a group of employees that moves just like the same thing. You want the same mentality of a championship high school or youth football team. That is what we do around here, and every single Monday, pretty much every day. So every day we have something for you, but Mondays specifically are incredibly, incredibly important because we have something called a kickoff question. All right, kickoff question. And for those of you who are new around here, understand that I have a football background. As I just mentioned, I come from the football world, and every single game starts with a kickoff. So I have started my weeks off with something called the Make It Move kickoff question, where we do something that's thought-provoking, where we inflect, where we put something in your brain that is meant to make you better that day and then make you better the next day, something to think about, something to accomplish, just something to get done that day. All right. And today we're going to talk all about what exactly a mental adjustment is. What is a mental adjustment? How do we make sure we're adjusting that? How do we make sure we are putting ourselves in a situation where we're expecting the unexpected, right? We're expecting the unexpected things to happen, and we're prepped. We're mentally prepped to adjust when the unexpected things come up, because I got news for you. They will come up. The stuff that you did not plan to have happen today is going to happen. Even if it quote unquote doesn't happen, you have to have the mentality of you can mentally adjust no matter what, whenever the situation happens. All right. So we're going to be discussing that today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and then we're going to do a recap episode Thursday, Faith-Based Friday. I took in 2 sermons yesterday, and then obviously film session Saturday, and then Stay Hard Sunday. Still tentative, seeing that I will be traveling this weekend to my hometown of Maryland, DMV. Going home in a couple of days here, so I'm really, really pumped about that. So before I get started today, as usual, let me get through a few announcements, and then we'll get right into the Medium article. And make sure too, by the way, that you're following me on medium.com. I am going to be doing some special giveaways. So what I'm going to be doing for this 6th book, the 6th book is going to be all about entrepreneurship and what it actually means to be a entrepreneur. If you don't know what that means, just stay tuned throughout the live stream, or stay tuned throughout. Just make sure you subscribe to the channel. I will be talking about what a wintrepreneur is. I usually dive into that concept a little more on Wednesdays. But the people that are following me on Medium, they will be getting a special deal with the new book about how to be a wintrepreneur, because a lot of the articles that I write, multiple articles that come out every single week on Medium. So I'll be just kind of putting that into the book format. I know personally the difference in reading something online versus reading something in a book. There's something different about it. There's a different understanding. There's a one-on-one feeling. See, when you're reading the quality material and you're taking in information, there's a feeling that comes to you when you're holding a book in your hands versus just listening to it on Audible or reading it online or something like that. Not to say that, either one is better than the other. I'm just understanding when you're taking in valuable information that's going to help you in your life. Reading it, actually sitting down, spending time reading it, in my personal opinion, it doesn't. And to be honest, psychologically, I don't know if there's any studies on this, but I'm pretty sure that if there was somebody to do a study on this, you probably get more value in reading something like a book, like reading something like this, where you're holding a book like this. and you're like in this competency, fluency, stuff like that, where you're holding it and you're highlighting it and you're able to underline, you can go back to it. There's a different feeling when you're holding a book in your hands and you're reading it versus just reading something virtually. So I say all that to explain to you, if you're following me on Medium, again, you'll be getting a discount on the book packages and what I'll be doing with the book number 6. It's that month now where I just got a couple more chapters to write on it, and then I'll be kind of implementing the Medium articles on that book. And then as football season gets into full swing, you'll hear announcements for pre-orders and when you can get the book, all that kind of stuff. So all that stuff is coming down the pipeline again. So just make sure you're following me on Medium, medium.com @MoveSwiftly. So all that being said, first things first, as usual, for my business owners out there, if you have not yet, make sure you go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That is freeguide.makeyourmove.com. I created a very simple, easy to understand formula that we work from around here. It is number 1, establishing measurables. Number 2, creating a professional distance. And number 3, with that, adding those two things together, getting a solid mix of those two things, that right there is going to lead you right into the productive environment that you need and that you want and need if you want to have a business that's actually going to be standing the test of time. All right. Establishing measurables and a professional distance, that leading to a productive environment. I create a very easy to understand 10-step process in which you can utilize right now in your business to make it so you can start to see those things change. All right. So it's freeguide.makeyourmove.com. Also, as I mentioned, and we did our first, I'm pumped, man, because we did our first kind of the first soft launch yesterday. I did my first soft launch yesterday, but I am going to be your one and only Move Swiftly speaker has found a sports bar to host a live college football show. We did our first soft launch yesterday at Duffy's Sports Bar and Grill in North Palm Beach. We will be starting. I'll be back there for the big one. It's going to be live and in action. Next time I'm there, it's going to be August 30th. Labor Day weekend, August 30th, from 11:30 to about 2:30 p.m., 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., breaking down college football the right way, the correct way. We're breaking down every single element of the game, from what the O-line, the D-line's doing, the linebackers, the running backs, the tight ends, the wideouts, the DBs, not just about what the quarterback's doing. We're breaking down what's going on in special teams, really giving you knowledge of the game. And throughout the week, we're going to have something called a weekly scenario where I'm going to send out a question in which I'll pose to fans or pose to anybody that's into the sports world. And it's really the goal, like I was saying yesterday, the goal is to align what you see on the college football field and allow that to help you in your business. Allow that to be something in which you can intertwine and say, man, coach made this decision, what I've done this in my business. And, constantly tying those knots and merging it so you understand. See, the great thing is I teach at a school that's in an art integrated school. So I'm always getting lessons, and I'm always like a daily practice for me to integrate some creative ways of teaching major lessons, of math lessons, of science, of social studies lessons. I'm always integrated in that world. So what I've gotten better at since I've been a teacher here is I've gotten better at taking what I already had in my mind. I already had the blueprint for it. I already had the foundation of taking the lessons that you learned on the college football field and applying them to businesses. But now there's constant ways of tying knots and integrating it. So it's really, really great what we're going to be doing. Again, the website to be a part of it is Weekly Scenario. It's weeklyscenario.makeyourmove.com. Just put your email in and you'll get an email from me just giving you a little bit about what we're going to be doing and staying in touch and stuff like that. Even if you can't make it to Duffy's at that particular time, you can join virtually. The reason I did the launch yesterday is because I wanted to see what I needed to do, how I needed to change things. All of that stuff was kind of worked out yesterday when I just, again, brought my laptop, brought my microphone and just started talking. Football. And that's one of the important things that you need to do. So it is weeklyscenario.makeyourmove.com. And finally, if you're like, hey, man, our favorite people, our favorite people around here are the people that say, bump all that free stuff out as one. Let me know who I got to pay, where I got to pay, how I got to pay. That is the kind of people we love around here, straight up. All right, we love, the best part of the business is when I go to my merchant account, I see somebody made a purchase. That's what we love around here. So if you're like one of those folks and say bump all that free stuff I'm ready to pay somebody to solve my issue right now, my employee development issue right now. Just simply go to makeyourmove.com. That's makeyourmove.com. You can hit the shop now button. You can purchase the books right there. There are the employee development workshops right there. You can, book a meeting with me to figure out payment plans and all that kind of all the structural things that you would need. All of that is available on makeyourmove.com. The tab is innovative teamwork to do all your research on me. And here it is. Turn your business into a championship team. It is common knowledge that the best way to win in business or in life is by avoiding ways to lose. Whether you've just started a new business or you've been in business for quite some time, there is no getting around the need to hire or outsource certain elements of your organization so things can run as efficiently as possible. When you book your meeting with As1, he'll diagnose what the issues are with your current system and then strategically create a system in which will lead to a reduced amount of turnover or a clear understanding of the parts of your business that need to be outsourced. Boom! That's where we're at. All right. So if you're new around here, see, I got the same shirt, right? It still fits too, by the way. If you're new around here, that's what we do over here in the Move Swiftly world. All right. All that being said, let's get into today's article and let's get into what we're going to be discussing all week and breaking down the concept of a mental adjustment. Now, I sort of stepped on the point a little bit when I was doing the intro, but I cannot overemphasize the importance of really developing your mindset to stay very, very flexible and understanding that problems will occur. All right. So when we're talking mental adjustments, what actually got me on the topic was just last week. So last week, again, like I mentioned, I teach at a school named the Center for Creative Education, and it's a year-round school. So when it comes to coming back to school or, first day and all that kind of stuff, I really don't get to. It's not like a typical educator position where they're just thinking, oh my God, I got the whole summer off and now I got to mentally adjust to get back to school and all that. That's not really the way it is around here. You got to be on 12 months out the year. You're working 12 months out the year. Mentally, you're already framed to work 12 months out the year. Like the kids are going to, they don't leave. All right. It's no summer vacation, which again, I'm a fan of. I actually like that because I actually wrote an article about a year ago from this recording. It was about how summer vacation ruins kids because you're teaching basically that you're going to get a 3-month hiatus from learning, which is just not the truth, right? So I actually prefer that. But anyway, it was last week Monday, where I walked in that Monday assuming that it was a half day. I didn't realize it was actually going to be a full day. I assumed that it was going to be a half day. So I walked in and I had my I had my day planned out in terms of what I was going to be doing and, this and that and a bunch of little things that I had planned that I had to adjust and say, oh, wait, no, it's actually a full day and the students are going to be here and I got to be doing this. I'm the sport and fitness director. And so I got to design workouts, all the stuff that I planned to do. I had to just mentally adjust and say, okay, it's already ready. So that's what happened. Then when it came to me actually doing the work and creating the lesson plans and going through the lesson plans, I had to adjust because I come from, again, the college football world, the high school football world. That's the world I come from. And now when I'm trying to take where I come from and teach that to, or even adults, again, I'm spent 4 years as a boxing trainer at Nine Round where I'm training adults, right? I had to take my mentality and dumb it down to where kindergartners and first graders understand how to operate in the sport and fitness world and what's important, what's not important. All of that stuff had to happen on the fly. It happened on the fly. So it got me thinking about my strengths and some of the things that I do well and the mental adjustments that I need to make, the mental adjustments that you need to make in order to produce the results in your business. This is something that you just never know you're going to have to lean on. You're going to have to lean into your ability to mentally adjust to problems. All right. Hear me very clearly. The problems are coming. They're coming. Do not act like everything is just going to be okay. Yes, there are going to be some great moments where you can celebrate and you can be happy, all that stuff. But you got to also in the back end be ready for the problems to come up in whatever decision you make. There are no perfect scenarios. There are no perfect outcomes in life. There are only trade-offs. I'm going to do this because I have to do this. Or I want this. So in turn, I'm trading off from this. You have to be ready for the problems and be ready to adjust your mental, however you do it, but it has to get done or you will not last, you will not survive. All right. So it's enough intro. Let me get right into the article. And for those of you, again, who don't know, I usually go directly from the article because it keeps me on track. As you can see, I could get into, a girl likes to tell me, I could word vomit a little bit with certain topics. I start talking about it, and next thing you know, a whole 15 minutes goes by me on a certain subject. So these Medium articles, they help keep me on track. They help keep me on track. All right. All that being said, Make Your Move Monday. What exactly is a mental adjustment? That's the question today. Welcome to another Make Your Move Monday here on the Move Swiftly platform. And if you're new around here, let me break it down for you real quick. Every Monday, we kick off the week with a question, not just any question, a kickoff question that's meant to challenge how you think, spark internal dialogue, and leave you in a better headspace than you were before you tapped in. This week's question: what exactly is a mental adjustment? Let's go back to the first time I encountered the term. I was part of a business mastermind. Yes, I was part of a business mastermind led by Dre Baldwin, former pro athlete turned entrepreneur, and one of my current virtual mentors. Look him up. It'll take you about 10 seconds to see why. All right, so I'll do it for you guys real quick. If you're watching this virtually, you'll see why I consider Dre as one of my virtual mentors. I have met him in person, so it's not like it's just a virtual thing, but you'll see it. It's my guy, man. That's my guy. I met him around 5 years ago now when I put out my first book ever, Swiftly. And it was a clubhouse, happened to be a clubhouse, just a clubhouse room in which, he was asking certain questions. And, he's helped me develop into what I'm doing now because I actually paid to be a part of his mastermind. He's local out here in South Florida. So a former basketball player, and me being from the DMV. Basketball is the sport that runs the DMV. That's a lot known. So I connect more business minded when it comes to basketball players as much as I'm a football guy at heart. But, former basketball players I can get with from a business standpoint. So, I joined his mastermind, learned a ton. I would not be doing these live streams regularly the way I do now had I not had that role model, had that example of, hey, this is the way a former athlete develops his business mind and uses those tools. So, shout out to Dre because the way he noticed. Oh, actually, no. Let me just read to you directly, and you'll get what I'm saying here. So, I was part of his business mastermind. I was part of a business mastermind led by Dre Baldwin, former athlete turned entrepreneur, and one of my virtual mentors. All right. We spent weeks, maybe even months, going back and forth on ideas. I've always been a generator of them. That's both a blessing and a curse. Just so we are clear. I'm a person that can I can come up with idea after idea after idea. I have loads of ideas. Again, I'm someone that has tons and tons of things that go through my head. Every single morning you hear me talk about some sort of daily Move Swiftly thought. It's my outlet, right? It's my outlet, my creative outlet. I'll get an idea. I need to write it down. I need to do so. I need to make sure it gets out in some way, shape, form, or fashion. One of the biggest things about being an ideas person is you have to have people around you that can evaluate the idea in real time and strategically say, hey, that's going to work. It's not going to work. There's elements of it that will work. Here's the trade-off. Here's this. When you're an ideas person, that means you're focused on great things. That means you want great things to happen. All right. That's me. That's me all day. Right. So the upside, here's the upside of being that kind of person. The upside, a deep well of optimism and ambition, right? You guys, again, if you've been around, you could probably have just joined in right now and started to realize, hey, there's ambition, there's optimism, there's a sense of positive energy that you can probably feel just even through a screen. Now, here's the downside, though. Here's the downside. Here's where the trade-off comes. The downside is you got to be willing to let go of some ideas, and that hurts. That part of it right there hurts, all right? Because when you put your heart and soul into something, when you're really thinking of something and you're moving in a direction where your ideas are coming from your own head and certain parts of it just won't work, whether it's your fault or whether it's the fault of just the way the person that you're trying to serve, the way they think. Like, I'll give you perfect example. When I first company I started was the company named Gym44, gym44.com, where the idea was for coaches to log on to an account, be able to post tryouts, and have the advertisements right there on the tryout so they can go and sell ad space themselves. Again, I'm saying it and it makes perfect sense and there's nothing wrong with it. And it's not really like the idea has gone anywhere, but based on, and this is something that he gave me a full breakdown on, based on the people that I'm targeting to be users, they will not go out of their way to go sell ad space. They won't do that. They won't do that. The coaches that I'm targeting will not do that. So I had to put that idea on hold and said, this is coming from Dre specifically, because for weeks, me and him were going back and forth on this one. All right. He had explained to me, you have to set up a situation in which you're educating people on this kind of thinking, because your typical coach out there is going to get paid to coach, and they're not going to, be the ones going and reaching out to business owners and trying to get them to sell ads. Now, as one has a different experience as a player, because I had coaches that were willing to go and meet whoever, and they were willing to talk to boosters. I had coaches who were actually business owners themselves, and they would have loved something like that. However, again, that's the rarity. That's what makes As One unique. That's the rarity that comes with being As One Crookshank, right? So he had explained that to me, and as I kind of adjusted to it, I was like, you know what? That makes sense, because it's really the name, like I said, the name of the company is Gym44, but it's bigger than a name, bigger than a logo, bigger than a kind of a surface level platform. It's more so about, are you able to have an idea in which you can serve the people, and the people that you are serving in a way that you're servicing, are you thinking about the way they think, and then structuring your idea based on the way they think too? Because it's so difficult when you're coming up with so many different and great ideas that that want to actually work and you hit that home run, because you also got to think about letting other people in to whatever concept and the way you're thinking. That's the difficult part. The difficult part is actually figuring out how you can take what's going on in your head and be able to dumb it down or smarter, whatever it is, how you're going to service the people that are actually going to be receiving the results of your idea working. All right. So that's the downside, is you got to let go of some ideas, and that part of it hurts. It does hurt, because you're going through it, and you in your own mind are putting resources and time, energy, effort into something that you feel very, very passionate about. So at one point, Dre pushed me to lean into one of my core strengths, something I didn't even see in myself at the time: mental adjustments. All right. So let me just kind of clarify that for you guys as we go along here. So the reason I decided to use this Move Swiftly membership as the image to document this article, or document the story, is because after Dre and I went back and forth on, Gym44 and, doing certain things, and he had explained to me, you have to probably set up a situation in which I'm educating folks on this type of thinking, I came up with the idea of something called a Move Swiftly membership. And this is when he shot it down. He shot it out. He goes, no, don't do that. Don't do a Move Swiftly membership, because what's going to happen, here was the question he asked me. This is, okay, so what's going to happen when you get a couple people to sign up and then they cancel? Because that's definitely going to happen, right? He goes, this is going to happen. You're going to have a membership that you do this, that, and the third, and then somebody's not going to do it. All sorts of things that are going to be happening, and it's not going to be in your control, right? It's not going to be in your control of, it's not going to be because you have a bad concept or because something is necessarily wrong with the material in which you're putting out. But just, again, stuff comes up, life comes up, they can't afford it, but whatever it is. And he goes, that doesn't lean into your strength. And he told me this directly. That's why I strongly recommend joining this program. He told me directly, he goes, your strengths are more mental adjustments, flexibility, deciding, hey, this happened this way. Okay, I'm going to mentally adjust and move forward. The same way, you're on the football field and you decide, let's say a blitz is called, right? I played linebacker. Let's say a blitz is called, and you see something tips you off, in which you realize if you blitz that gap, you'll be actually taking yourself out the play. So you see the blitz, or you have it in your mind that the call is a blitz, but you see something in the offense, you see you see the guard pulling, or you see something, you see a motion come in, and you did your research and you say, hey, I'm calling off the blitz. I'm not going to blitz. I'm going to go meet the running back here, meet the guard in this hole because I see that's what he's doing. That's mentally adjusting on the fly. That's the strengths. And that's the strengths of a lot of people. See, this is why former college athletes, this is why we're so hireable and so desirable, is because we're used to mentally adjusting in real time. Whatever happens, we got to get going now. All right. So after I received that advice, here's what happened. All right. So going directly back to the article now for my podcast listeners, fast forward a few years, and that term has taken on a deeper meaning, especially now that football season is back and the school year has begun. Life is coming at all of us fast. Schedules, expectations, pressure, whether you're on the field, in the classroom, or in the office, we all have to make mental adjustments without being told. So let's define it. Mental adjustment equal a small shift that creates a big difference. Let's break it down. Mental, meaning relating to the mind, adjustment, a small alteration or movement made to achieve a desired fit, appearance, or result. Key word, small. It doesn't take a major overhaul to shift your trajectory. It takes small, intentional shift in the way you think that leads to a specific outcome that you want. From idea overload to strategic clarity. Let me give you a real world example. Now, I sort of started mentioning this as I was, expressing why I decided the Move Swiftly membership image was the one I wanted to use, but I'll read it to you directly from the article. From idea overload to strategic clarity. Let me give you a real world example. Back when Dre and I were still riffing on ideas, one thing I was set on was launching a Move Swiftly membership. Sounds good, right? And it does. If you really think about it from a surface level, if I was a surface level thinker that had absolutely no substance whatsoever, the Move Swiftly membership, it just sounds good. It sounds like it's something that's really fun for me, right? But I can't be thinking about just what's best for me. You got to be thinking about what's actually going to fucking work, right? But you got to do that. I'm using myself again. I'm putting myself here on the hot seat because I want you all to understand the realities of the situation. You gotta be willing to get your ass kicked a little bit in order to be great. All right. Because it's going to lead to the results that you want. So sounds good. Nice. It had a nice ring to it. The name was catchy. The idea fit. But like I just mentioned, there was no real structure. Nothing about it spoke directly to my ideal client, a college football fan who runs a business of 20 or more employees and struggles with high employee turnover. That was the problem. I was building based on what I wanted to give, not what the market needed. Hear me. This right here, circle this part right here. All right, circle it, highlight it. This right here is the problem for about 90% of you all listening to me right now. There's so many of the thought leaders, whatever the hell it is you want to call yourself, educated folks that have got this degree, PhD, I do this, I done did this for this amount of years, I did this for this, all the bullshit that you feed, all the stuff that you decide to tell people and give your resume, constantly acting like you just know every fucking thing there is to know about the world. Right here is your problem. Your problem is you're giving people stuff that you want to give them, and you're not thinking about what the market needs. You're trying. Let me not say you're giving them. You're trying to give people something that you want to give them, but you are not thinking about what the market actually needs. If you would loosen up a little bit and say, hey, the market actually needs this, then you can make a small adjustment. You can make a small adjustment in your business, and then that's going to lead to the money coming in for you. And then you could do what the hell else you want to do once you got your money. Once the checks are cleared and the damn cards are swiped, and you look at your account, and you're like, all right, cool. I got my cash. I got my bread. I got whatever I need financially. You could just do what you want to do at that point. But wherever you are and to build your business, you have to be thinking about what the market needs. All right. And that is the problem for everyone. There's a problem for me. I deal with the same thing. I'm not talking at you. I'm talking to you, because that's the difficult part about being an entrepreneur. Problem is I was building based on what I wanted to give, not what the market needed. So what did I do? I made a mental adjustment, a small shift. Now, instead of offering a vague Move Swiftly membership, I lead with what actually served the target audience. Employee development workshops, which is exactly what you'll see on makeyourmove.com, which is what I talked about earlier. So instead of dancing around it, oh yeah, you could be a member and then try to offer them this up. No, go right to them, go directly to them. This is exactly what we're offering: employee development workshops, and this is how it gets better. This is how it benefits you. And if you can tell over time, that offer has been crafted into a situation in which it's easily understandable how it is I'm offering. And anybody that has known me since that time and since those long years, they can sense and see the clarity in terms of what it is I do and how I describe and talk about what I do. How you talk about what you do is about 95% of the issue. All right. How you talk about what you do is 95% of the issue. Too often, again, if you're talking about what you do based on you wanting to give people something versus what the market needs, they're gonna know, the buyer's gonna know how much research and how much effort and how much thought you've actually put into your shit. All right, that's what that's the reality of the situation. All right, so mental adjustments in business and life. Every time I engage with a business owner or college football enthusiast, I'm refining how I speak, how I present, and how I deliver. That's the power of a mental adjustment. It's not about changing who you are, all right? And be clear on this. This is where a lot of folks can ruffle a lot of feathers because you can get confused. I'm not necessarily changing who I am. Again, you can hear me speak here, and you're going to hear me speak in person, or you can hear me speak at a workshop. It's going to be the exact same essence. It's going to be the same person. However, there's an element in my mind to where in the back of my mind, I know who my All right, my apologies. Let me the Wi-Fi is acting a fool again, which is getting frustrating at this point. But yeah, my apologies for that. If you're listening to this on the podcast, the Wi-Fi just went out a little bit, but hopefully we're back in action. But where I was, mental adjustments in business, and now you guys see the importance of having a solid system, having a structure, having something to go from, and why I go from the article. So in case stuff like that, this is what I mean. So it's so crazy that it's happening right now the way it happened, because I had to mentally adjust. I had to mentally adjust, and if I didn't have the structure, if I didn't have if I didn't have something to keep me on track as I'm talking and as I'm presenting these things, a lot of these things get lost. So what happened was, I'm sitting here talking to you guys about mental adjustments, and the Wi-Fi goes out. So boom, there you go. Mentally adjust. We're right back on track, right? So it's crazy how life works. I don't plan this stuff. It just happens. All right. So let me go back to the article where we left off, and then I'll close you guys out soon. So mental adjustments in business and life. Every time I engage with business owners and a business owner or a college football enthusiast, I'm refining how I speak, how I present, and how I deliver. That's the power of a mental adjustment. It's not about changing who you are. It's about adjusting how you think just enough to get the results you were capable of achieving. And trust me, we're just getting started. So here's what's coming this week. We'll be diving into why small shifts matter more than major overhauls, how to practice mental flexibility under pressure, the link between leadership, mental adjustments, and consistent performance, and how I use shifts every day, from teaching to podcasting to running my brand. If this resonates, make sure you're locked in. Kick off the week with focus, flexibility, and that wintrepreneur mindset, because greatness doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from adjusting when it matters most. All right. So again, all that being said, main website to check out to dive deeper into all the work I'm doing, employee development. If you want a staff and an organization that's moving with this kind of energy and constantly getting better, it's makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As One Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.